Hello everybody, so we are back with another video, and today we're going to discuss another of the primordials, and they are called the Nesoi, who are the primordial goddesses of the islands. Now, each island in Greece has its own personified deity, and they are said to have originally been the mountains themselves, but Poseidon leveled them into the sea with his trident, thus making islands. So, though these particular deities don't necessarily have like a representational figure like you would associate with Athena or Aphrodite, but they literally represent the islands themselves. Here are some of the myths that they. Sorry, bit of hair there. Here are some of the myths that they can be found in. This one dates from the 3rd century BC, and it says, "But none need grudge that she be named among the first. Whosoever unto Oceanus and unto Titanus, Thetis, the islands gather, and she, Delios, ever leads the way. Behind her footsteps follow Phoenicia, Cyrenus, no mean isles, and Abatine Macris of the Elephinians, and the delectable Sardo, and the isles whereto Cyprius first swam from the water, otherwise known as Cyprus, and which for fee of her landing she keeps safe. They are strong by reason of sheltering towers, but Delios is strong by aid of Apollo. What defence is there a more steadfast? Walls and stones may fall, but a god is unshaken forever. Delios beloved, such is the champion that encompasses thee about. The tale, how at the very first the mighty god smote the mountains with the three-forked sword, which the Talesians fashioned for him, and wrought the islands in the sea, and from their lowest foundations lifted them all as with a lever, and rolled them into the sea. And then, in the depths, he rooted from their foundations, that they might forget the mainland. But no constraint afflicted thee, but free upon the open sea thou didst float, and thy name of old was Asteria, since like a star thou didst leap from heaven into the deep moat, fleeing wedlock from Zeus." So that myth literally is describing the creation of the Nesoi, and in particular one of the islands, which is the island of Delios. Now this myth, also from the 3rd century, goes on to say, Leto, pregnant with the god Apollo, was forced to wander the earth by the enraged goddess Hera. After much toil, she came unto the isles, Nesoi of the sea. But they received her not when she came, with their smooth anchorage of ships, which is of all other islands most hospitable, since Iris, the rainbow on lofty Mimas, was wroth with them all and utterly prevented them. And at her rebuke they fled altogether, every one that she came to along the waters. Then she came unto primeval Kos, the isles of Meropos, the holy retreat of the heroine. But the word of her son, Apollo in the womb, restrained her. Bear me not, mother, here. I blame not the island, nor have any grudge, but a bright isle it is, and rich in pasture as any other. But there is due to her, for the Morai, another god. Now in this particular myth, it comes from an ancient painting, where it says, "The heroine crowned with reeds, for doubtless you see the female figure at the foot of the mountains. Sturdy of form and dressed in blue is the island of Skyros, my boy, which the divine calls windswept. She has a branch of olive in her hands and a spray of vines. Now this goes on to, so this is a bit more of an explanation of who the Nesoi were. So they were spoken of and are considered primordial deities of the Greek pantheon, and probably the daughters of Gaia. So this would suggest the Nesoi are the female equivalents of the Aurea, or the mountains. There are said to be only 10 Aurea in Greek mythology though, but if each island was represented by a Nesoi, then there would be hundreds of such goddesses. So this goes on to explain a bit further that with their creation, this is the creation of the Nesoi and the islands being created when Poseidon struck down the Aurea with his trident, flinging them into the sea. This would mean the transformation from god to goddess, and of course Poseidon was a latecomer to the Greek pantheon, born generations after the primordials. So I guess you could say there may have been a blending of their creation over time, and it could quite possibly be that the first telling of this particular myth may have actually utilized Oceanus, who was the original god of the oceans. Well, he was the primordial god of the oceans. And then as the ages progressed and we had the Titans come in, and then the Olympians come in, the tale changed from the original primordial god to the newest god, which was Poseidon. So, then in most surviving texts, it is more common to talk of nymphs or minor goddesses being associated with the islands, or at least the water sources on the island. Thus, each island was represented by a freshwater nymph, and they would occasionally give their name to the island, as in the case of Aegina, who gave her name to the island she was carried to by Zeus, and Salamis, who likewise was abducted by Poseidon. Other goddesses who were not nymphs were also associated with the islands of Greek mythology. There was also Rhodes, a daughter of Poseidon, who was the goddess nymph of Rhodes. The island of Delos is a different case though, for Delos was considered in many ancient sources to be the metamorphosized goddess Astera, having fled the unwanted advances of Zeus. So as you can tell, with the Nesoi, there's like a few different, I suppose, myths that kind of come in to create their overall folklore. So they were created from the Aurai, which are the mountains, and they were masculine. And when they became the islands, then they became goddesses and female and feminine. But then at the same time, and I would say this probably happened later, like the same thing, later through the ages, a bit as I was saying, with Poseidon and Oceanus before. Later on, the Nesoi went from being primordial goddesses to the nymphs of the island. But either way, each island is represented by one, and I haven't really been able to find anything in relation to like a cult-like following for them. But as with all information about primordials, a lot has been lost to time. But that's just a little bit about the Nesoi. We will be back next week with another video. Until then, have a great weekend, and we'll chat soon. Bye.